Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wahoo Warrior channel. So I got a video uploading for the last few turns of our Italian Bulgarian. That was a hard row for Chris. I knew it. So as we were talking, actually right after we set it up, I started talking about that scenario is a bugaboo of mine from several Adepticons past. I felt it was very unfair to the attacker, no matter who. So, and this is something I had in my mind for a long time. It's basically a double point defense. So I think this scenario will be very dynamic, in it, no matter what you roll up. So basically, we did a deployment just like normal, but we're both considered the defender. So I've set up my 3 objectives. I kind of set them up very similar to how I had. I had to set up first because I got the table roll. Now, Chris, in this scenario, he actually gets to place his things that he purchased in his deployment zone, and he's the defender on that side. And he set up 3 objectives as well. The victory conditions are basically the same, controlling objectives. If you control more objectives than your opponent, you get a minor win. If you control 2 or more than your opponent, then you get a major win. Dead things don't matter. Now, what's exciting about this is I think that we're not allowing outflank. So I think what this scenario will do, and I'm hoping to play this scenario multiple times with different armies, is that it provides a push-pull probing type of thing. You might want to have your advance start one way, and when it gets shut down, maybe go into more of a defensive mindset, start playing for that draw, push for 1 for a minor, but while protecting your own. Some games you may end up with all your stuff over there and all your stuff and all his stuff over here. Who knows? I think it's exciting. I think it's a great scenario for bolt action. I think it provides a lot of thought process as you're deploying and as you're putting your army list together if you would go to a tournament and face this. So it helps defensive armies, but you still have to go capture objectives. I have 3 in my control, and Chris has 3. We're starting the game on a draw with a myriad of options and be able to change it. So the other thing we're doing is we're going to incorporate one of our campaign rules that we've been working on for the campaign that Chris has been putting together, which will be debuting pretty down the road, a couple weeks maybe.
2 at the most.
2 at the most. So part of the campaign, and it's something that we've talked about for a while, is artillery. So prep bombardment. If anybody's played more than 5 games of bolt action and they've gone to a tournament and they get a prep bombardment, it's very, very underwhelming. It puts some pins on the guys, and then by turn 2, they're all rallied off. It was pointless. Maybe you rolled a 6 and hit one thing and killed one thing. That's not the point of a prep bombardment. So we're looking at the prep bombardment as a divisional guns are fixed on those targets. They know where they're at. They've had some intel. So we're going to be allowing our prep bombardment to come in on the turn that I choose. And Chris will get one as well, since we're both defenders. And it'll come in on the turn that we choose. So if I choose to fire it on turn 3, where I've moved my infantry up to a nice assault position, I'm getting ready to start pushing for the objectives. It has to be at the beginning of the turn, and I'll call my prep bombardment. So I'll fire my prep bombardment, and it's still going to hit the deployment zone. Now, Chris may know that that's coming and have moved everything out of the deployment zone, so it may be pointless. If he's hunkered down and camping on the objectives, it won't be pointless because I'll go ahead and put those pins down. Now I'll be able to push my assault. Chris, same way. Might want to fire his prep bombardment here. If I wait till turn 4 or 5 and I've got something in the deployment zone, it will affect my troops as well. You roll on them. It hits everything in the deployment zone. I'm very excited about that change in the rules because I think it's much more tactically advantaged. You might want to fire at turn 1. You go, oh, Chris went ahead and deployed his tank in the deployment zone. I'm going to try to change this game turn 1 and fire my prep bombardment now, and maybe I'll get a lucky hit. If not, I'm going to save it. The tank may be not even in the deployment zone anymore, so I'm using it for different objectives. Very excited about that rule change. And the second rule change we're going to be doing is the artillery observers. Now, I don't have a dedicated artillery observer in this game, and we'll be talking about the rules a little bit more before we actually start this game tomorrow, Tuesday. So we're going to start playing Tuesday. We'll get it done here in the next couple of days. So what we're doing is we're expanding the powers to the lieutenant of the platoon to be able to call in artillery like an artillery observer. You can buy a dedicated artillery observer as well. which gives you a different an associated command. And we may associate maybe a +1 roll to the chart if it's the actual artillery observer. I would think that would be fair. So basically, you can call in your artillery similar to the American airstrikes. If you've resolved it, you can go ahead and call another one in on the turn. Your lieutenant can call one in, your artillery observer can call one in, but there can only be one in play at a time. So if it's delayed, you're gonna have to wait for it to be resolved. So we're making it more powerful, but we're also going to make it a little more limited. It won't automatically be a heavy howitzer. So when you call in your artillery barrage and it comes in for effect and you roll a 4, 5, or 6, we're going to roll on a very quick chart. Basically, a 1 or 2 is going to be a light battery. So it's basically a light artillery piece. A 3 to 5 will be a medium artillery battery. So instead of the +4, it's going to be obviously associated with that piece of equipment. And a 6 will still be a heavy, just like it is normally on artillery. Either, and we've just kind of been talking about it. I would say if the lieutenant is the one calling it in, I would just say if the artillery observer is the one calling in, maybe give you a +1 on that chart to try to increase the fire. So that gives purchasing those points for the artillery observer gives you a little bit of a buff. Mm-hmm. Plus, you have another guy who can be able to do it without having to, purchase another lieutenant. So now they can't both fire one the same turn. Can't be like artillery observer and lieutenant both calling on artillery. We just end up with a game with a bunch of artillery raining down on us. But there'll only be one in play at a time, but either person could call it in. Let's say on turn 2, you have one pending, it doesn't come in, and I snipe your artillery observer, and you roll on the next turn for replacement. Your lieutenant could be the one to then redirect it to the new target. So I'm pretty excited about these rule changes. I think they're things that will make the game more interesting and more tactical. The prep bombardment is just a waste of time the way it is right now. You end up clearing all the pins off by turn 2 or turn 3 at the worst. The vast majority, and it rarely kills anything. But it would be hugely effective on turn 4 if Chris is camping and I've moved up to a nice positions and I'm ready to make my play to move into and start putting some fire down. Now I call in my prep and it puts a bunch of pins down on turn 3 or 4. Now Chris is looking at world hurt, and so you can't just camp on those objectives. So I'm super stoked about this campaign coming up. I'm super stoked about this scenario. I'm hoping to run this scenario multiple times with different armies so we can kind of really get a taste for how it affects. So I went ahead and made my deployment. I went ahead and put my light artillery piece over here on the side like before. It got a nice field of fire. I've got my LMG team here. I've got an MMG in this rubble. I got my mortar behind it. I've got a 11-man squad over here guarding this objective. Now I had to place half my units on. The other half are in first wave, we declared, instead of a reserve. So I've got all my other stuff off the board. We haven't rolled for the sniper and my spotter, and Chris has a sniper and an artillery observer. So we're gonna roll those. We can do those real quick and see who places first. 5, 3. So I'll just do my mortar spotter first. I want my mortar to be able to see that gun in placement. It technically can right now because we said this is just rubble and you can see through it. So a secondary target for my mortar might be that pillbox. So I think I'll put him right back here in this wheat field so I can see that pillbox. As you notice, Chris has his defensive arrangement that he was purchased in his army list. And so he's got the brown represents tank ditches, and the white represents wire. Wire is a linear obstacle for infantry, so they have to do an advance to get through it. It will also stop movement of wheel, just like a linear obstacle. The tank ditches are same effect as the wire, but they also stop tanks. And if a tank moves into it, it does an advance, and as soon as he touches it, you roll on the chart that's in the book, and it may become immobilized, right?
Yeah, I think it was 1, 2, and a 3.
Yeah, 50% chance of being immobilized. Yeah, but basically, I mean, you're taking a chance. You're shoving into it and trying to push through it. Linear obstacles are destroyed by tracks if they drive over them. The white ones are the wire. They don't provide any cover because you don't want to give your enemy cover if you're trying to slow them down. We said the tank ditches provide cover for infantry only. Soft cover if they're up, basically represented to be in it by touching it like they would be a wall.
The anti-tank ditch is on roll 1, 2, and 3. It is impassable to tracked and semi-tracked vehicles for the rest of the game. But if you roll a 1 while testing, you're immobilized for the game.
Okay.
So.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, we'll try to put some more games up here. We're going to keep going. So I'm pretty excited about this. I'm looking forward to starting it. We're not going to have time to start it right now, unfortunately, but I just wanted to discuss it with you guys. If you want to put some comments on what you think about these rule changes and how they might affect the game, feel free to do so. I'll be looking at those tonight while I'm at work.
I think there should be a bonus for the spotter as well.
For
like an artillery spotter that you get. Yeah, that's just my.
You mean on board like a mortar spotter?
Yeah, instead of needing a 6, you could start with a 5-6. I mean, what's the difference between having a spotter or, just a mortar with nothing? You're firing indirect. You still need a 6.
It just allows you to be able to see something you can't normally see. Actually, I mean, if you're going to give a bonus, you'd almost give a bonus to over the sights shooting at something indirectly, You're not even using somebody's interpretation. You're just firing it.
Right, but you got a guy with a map and a compass and all this other stuff plotting where a unit is, and he calls it back to the firing unit. I mean, it's just a thought. So,
yeah.
We can talk about it.
All right. Well, so I guess that'll be it for right now. Oh, I got to put my sniper. Where'd you put your guy? What'd you put?
I didn't deploy.
Oh, I put my mortar spotter, so you need to put, you can put your sniper or your observer.
And you can go up to 24?
Half the board, yeah. Can't be within 12 inches of another forward deployer.
Where's your forward deployer?
Back here.
Oh.
I haven't put my sniper on yet. He's laying on the road right now, but he's not there.
Gun, a light, or that's a light squad.
Yep, light machine gun squad.
And back there's your mortar.
MMG and mortar.
Oh, you got an MMG there.
Right here.
I can check range with this. Right?
Yep.
Just see, if I can reach this building. No? What do you say?
Not quite. Right to the outside. You could run into it next turn.
He's hiding and run into it. I'll just go ahead and I'll stick him in the rubble. I think. Just plop him right here.
Okay. I think I'll retaliate and put my sniper into this house.
Start with the duel again.
Yep.
I think it's about the only good thing I can say that
Happened.
he did last game.
Started off real good for you.
Your sniper, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I got my.
Although I could, yeah, I guess I got a field of fire on that.
I got my artillery observer. That's just a light machine gun squad you got there.
MMG here.
Oh, that's the MMG, that's right.
And sniper.
Oh. Stay away from the sniper. Yeah. Yeah, I'll stick him over here. In the rubble.
All right, so that'll be our deployment. So we'll be starting up the game here in the next day or so. Thanks for joining us.